Jay, your favorite album cover of all time. What was the one that you love the most?
Jesus Christ, that's too hard, man.
What?
Who you got for the game, Jay?
What TV show are you binge watching right now?
Oh, there we go.
Hey, don't be asking you. Why you asking?
He was like, he had like he was scared to be out in public, and this video right here came out the same time where the Epstein files came out. So he would have been, I know he probably been shaking in his boots, scared that somebody would have asked him, you know, what you think about those Epstein files? Why was your name mentioned? So Jay-Z did an interview with GQ, and basically the interview didn't seem too authentic, and it really just seemed kind of like a fail with him trying to seem like he's still in the culture when he's really not. But let's go get straight into the video and see what's going on.
Jay-Z attempts a comeback. He schedules this interview with GQ. That was a scripted interview. They knew the questions beforehand. He answers the questions on cue. But the purpose of this interview was to convince us that him and Roc Nation aren't as terrible and evil as the world is making it out to seem. I think at some point during this interview, he did say they're going on the offense this year and not the defense. Meaning they're gonna be proactive in trying to deconstruct the narratives instead of letting the narratives fester and then have to send copyright strikes and go after independent small creators who are just doing their job by reporting on the treachery of Roc Nation.
And the truth is, you know, at the end of the day, it still reigns supreme.
When you're feeling these feelings, how do you then bounce back and get back to being Jay-Z?
I don't know. This is the first thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
Actually, it was just like, all right, man, we played enough defense. 2026 is all offense.
Politicians perfected this skill, but the upper echelon of celebrities have also taken on this skill, which is making a scripted interaction look like it's genuine. If you watch this interview with an untrained eye, you would probably think, oh, this is just a genuine conversation. They're just going with the flow. No, this conversation was scripted from stop to start. Like, for God's sakes, they had a 60-year-old wearing grills and an almost 40-year-old dressed like Miles Morales. Whoever.
I'm gonna be for real. It like with Jay-Z, when you see him out in public, like it's like when the Epstein files came out and they mentioned his name, he was damn near terrified being out in public. I'll even show y'all the video right now.
Jay, your favorite album cover of all time. What was the one that you love the most?
Jesus Christ, that's too hard, man.
What?
Who you got for the game, Jay?
What TV show are you binge watching right now?
Oh, there we go.
Hey, don't be asking you. Why you asking me questions?
Because you're dude, you're my favorite rapper of all time.
Don't do me like that.
You're my favorite rapper of all time. That's why I'm just so curious.
You shouldn't do me like that.
I know. All right.
Let's shake hands.
All right.
Hey, I've never.
So in the full video, he was like he had like he was scared to be out in public, and this video right here came out the same time where the Epstein files came out. So he would have been, I know he probably been shaking in his boots, scared that somebody would have asked him, you know, what you think about those Epstein files? Why was your name mentioned? He didn't want to be around it.
From start to finish, it's just a fact, bruh. I remember at some point during this interview, like he asked Jay-Z, man, how do it feel to be a universal soldier, a warrior for the culture? And you have people blaming you for being a capitalist. I said, what's the question? Hey, bro, how do it feel to be so great? Like what? Nobody has ever in life said, Jay-Z, you're just too good of a capitalist. Cut it out, man. But this is one of those scripted questions that he requested to be asked. He requested they call him a universal soldier. I said, yo, this is just absolute malarkey, but it ultimately backfired. The PR he was looking for, he didn't get it.
Sticking with a written testimony, you have a couple of verses on there that I really like because they kind of speak to what's going on with you in a broader sense in the culture, like on Universal Soldier. I think it is when you said that you don't keep the same energy for the DuPonts and the Carnegies.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to talk a little bit about this idea of like you said earlier, like the things that you do for the culture the ways that you put on, the ways that you try to protect and move forward, but kind of the pushback that you get sometimes about like people throw capitalists at you in a derogatory sense.
Yeah, I think in that verse specifically, the only thing I heard coming up was the American dream until we started being successful. And it was like, wait a minute, you're selling out because you're making money. That was the first thing that was put on musicians. People had this allure for the struggling artist. That's a mind game, what we would call back in the day for tricknology. It was like, no, I'm not going for that. Like, no, I make art first. And then I make sure that I'm compensated for my art. I didn't take advantage. I didn't get here by taking advantage of people. I didn't take it, no one. That's not my reputation. That's not what I do. I didn't get here by taking advantage of people or taking advantage of, the loop.
It's funny that he say that, but then when J. Cole put out his last album, he said, finally, I got out my slave contract. And guess who J. Cole was signed to? J. Cole was signed to Jay-Z. So why would somebody who signed to you be happy that they're not a part of the contract anymore? It's like this. So either you go back, you either beg them, you either negotiate, renegotiate, get part of the publishing or the rights to your last album so you can get more money, or try to buy it back, in which most of the time they don't want that, because if the artist is gonna keep dropping music and I can get $200,000 off the residue of his new music, why the fuck would I let him go? Why would I let him keep the old album? Don't make sense. But that's the reason why people say it's a slave contract, because it's like damn. Once I drop new music, I don't even get the residue. Like I get like 10-20% of the last album, but once the album make $200,000, I'm only getting $20,000 off of it. So like a lot of people like, damn, that's slavery right there. And some artists don't even get that. Like some artists might get 5% or 10% or some shit like that. Like your album make $1 million in a year, you get 10% of that, 100,000, but they already gave you $1 million up front. So it's just like damn near a slave contract, because if you do get lucky enough to get out that contract or whatever, the next year when you put out a new album and you're not a part of that contract or that record deal no more, it's like your album might make another 100,000 that you put out last year, but in your new album maybe like 500,000 or something like that. You don't get the 100,000 of the last contract. You only get $10,000 because you got 10% of that album. But that's why I say, like, with this right here, it's contradictory that you say that, but your artist was in a slave contract.
Holes in the system or some wrinkle in like a capitalist structure. That structure exists, and I just see the world for what it is, not for what I want it to be. I'm a realist, not an ideal. It's not idealistic.
Have you ever heard anybody say, "Oh man, Jay-Z, you monetize your art too well. How dare you make those albums and sell the way you sell?" Man, cut it out, bruh. Nobody in the history of life have ever said that. You've never heard anybody say it. You've never heard anybody say that ever in life. But what people have said when they call Jay-Z a sellout, I can go down the laundry list if you want me to. Right? I would have asked, hold on, bruh. Did you tell Jermaine Dupri not to work with the NFL when they approached him to do the halftime show? Didn't you tell him not to work with the NFL because we was boycotting the NFL? Just for you to take the Super Bowl job and start working with the NFL and then tell black folks, we done protesting, we done blackballing the NFL. What's next? After you got hired, after they gave you a check, after they gave you again, the NFL paid Jay-Z to be a cultural regulator. Jay-Z was that one black person they had on the plantation to watch out for any escape plans. Black folks was protesting. We was done with the NFL. They gave Jay-Z a check to tell us to stop boycotting. After he got hired by the NFL to make them look good, Rock Nation called up TMZ to run a bad story on Colin Kaepernick. This is why we call Jay-Z a sellout, for doing things like this.
It was Nessa, and she was talking about Nicki Minaj's claims about a smear job that Jay-Z had against Colin Kaepernick. But I know for sure, that Rock Nation was seeding negative stories about Colin Kaepernick during the time that he was really in traction with Jay-Z. For sure. I've told this story before, I'll tell it again. This is another story where I give Harvey a ton of credit, right? So I'm at my desk one time. This is after the Rock Nation NFL deal has been announced. And give Harvey more credit than just with how he played this. I'll give him credit for the fact that he goes, hey, I just got this information on the phone. I know who was on the other end of the phone. I know who Harvey's Rock Nation contact is, right? I just got this information on the phone. And all of these things about Colin Kaepernick is what I just got told, right? He comes over to me and he tells me all of these things. And it was the whole Colin Kaepernick doesn't really want to play narrative. Like Colin Kaepernick didn't go to this training, or he sabotaged himself this way or whatever. Actually, it was the same thing that people had started to hear on First Take. And it was a narrative that was getting around because either it was coming from what I thought at first is that either it was coming from players that had played with him or people that knew things. I don't know, but I had heard it before, right? And Harvey comes over to me and he says all of this stuff. And he's like, yeah, did you know that he actually doesn't really want to play? And I looked at Harvey and I said, look, I don't think that we here at TMZ should be getting in the middle of what's going on between Colin Kaepernick and Jay-Z.
The really dense Jay-Z defenders and Rock Nation cult members will say, Rock Nation called, not Jay-Z. Right? Jay-Z owns Rock Nation. Right? When Rock Nation calls, they call it on behalf of Jay-Z. And it's no coincidence that Jay-Z signs up to the NFL. Colin Kaepernick criticized Jay-Z for working with the NFL and telling black folks to stop boycotting. And then Jay-Z and Rock Nation began to tell people, hey, y'all shouldn't be boycotting. Colin Kaepernick don't really want to work with the NFL. He don't really want a job with the NFL. Huh? That's why people call you a sellout. It's not because you're a capitalist, bruh. Right? It's because you a snake. And you be doing some selling out and bootlicking. This is what you known for. Now, I ain't got nothing.
It's just the fact that I didn't know that record labels really be behind the selling bad stories or selling information to people, like to TMZ groups and stuff like that. I didn't know that record labels do that.
Damn.
I'm gonna say this. Basically, you done made $4 million over your career, but they gave you $1 million up front, and then they telling you got to pay that $1 million back. Make that make sense to tell me that, like, oh, this isn't a bad contract. This isn't bad business. This isn't a scam. Like, it's damn near a scam. But basically, all I'm saying is it's just bad deals, bad publicity, and these record labels be doing nasty shit, and that's really the case that I'm saying. Like, it's just crazy. But if you like this video right here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, check out my latest video, and I'm out. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Make sure you go check out my Twitch, and also watch my recent video, which will be right here. And make sure you hit the subscribe button right here. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.